Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. We are back with the glossary of legal terms. Our first term today is caveat emptor. Caveat emptor meaning let the buyer beware, places the burden on the purchasers to inspect goods before buying. Historically, buyers could not claim defects unless they secured express guarantees. Modern consumer protection statutes impose implied conditions requiring goods to match their description, be satisfactory in quality, and fit for any non-purpose. These statutory duties mitigate the harshness of the common law maxim. It reflects a shift towards balancing buyer diligence with the statutory safeguards. The next term, certiorari or certiorari. Certiorari literally means to be informed, is a discretionary writ by which a higher court orders a lower court or tribunal to produce its record for review. It serves as a filter for superior courts to hear significant legal questions or resolve conflicting interpretations. Granting certiorari does not guarantee reversal, but initiates appellate scrutiny. It applies to judicial and administrative decisions in many jurisdictions. Its selective nature maintains docket control while ensuring critical issues receive attention. The next term, cause of action. A cause of action is the factual and legal foundation giving rise to a litigant's claim for relief in court. It specifies the wrongful acts on a statutory or common law basis entitling the claimant to remedy. Complaints must clearly state the cause of action to satisfy procedural thresholds. Without a valid cause of action, courts may dismiss a case outright. It frames the legal dispute and it defines the court's jurisdiction. The next terms, case law or precedent. Case law consists of legal rules and principles developed through judicial decisions, especially appellate rulings. Under the doctrine of stare decisis, lower courts must follow binding precedent on materially similar facts. Courts may distinguish, modify, or overrule precedents when warranted by factual or legal distinctions. Precedent promotes uniformity, predictability, and a coherence within common law systems. It interacts dynamically with the statutory law, filling gaps and interpreting legislative intent. The next term, capacity. Capacity defines a person's legal ability to perform an act or enter into obligations such as contracts or lawsuits. It includes factors like a legal age, mental competence, and statutory qualifications. Capacity ensures that enforceable agreements are made by those capable of understanding their implications. If absent at the time of formation, contracts may be void or voidable. It safeguards individuals and upholds legal validity of transactions. The next term, certainty of terms. Certainty of terms requires that contracts define essential elements such as price, subject matter, and obligations clearly and precisely. Vague or incomplete agreements may be considered unenforceable because courts cannot determine parties' intent. This doctrine ensures that contracting parties understand their duties and their rights. Courts will refuse to enforce indiscriminate or indefinite agreements. Legal clarity supports enforceability and reduces disputes. The next term, chattel or choice. Chattel, also called a choice in legal terms, refers to movable personal property as distinct from immovable real property. It includes items such as vehicles, equipment, and livestock. Legal rules governing chattels differ from those for land, for instance, in a sale, bailment, or security interests. Classification impacts rights, remedies, and a transfer of title. Understanding chattel versus real property is foundational in a property law. The next term, codification. Codification is the process of collecting and recognizing legal rules, often previously dispersed across statutes or case law, into a systematic code. It is common in civil law jurisdictions, but also arises in common law systems seeking clarity. Codification promotes legal uniformity, accessibility, and legislative transparency. While it consolidates law, it may also ossify principles previously developed through judicial evolution. The practice shapes how law is taught, applied, and revised over time. The next term, collateral source rule. The collateral source rule prevents a defendant from reducing the liability by the amount a plaintiff receives from independent third-party sources such as insurance. It ensures that compensation for harm is not diminished simply because the insured party was covered elsewhere. Under this rule, insurer's payment do not offset damages payable by the defendant. It upholds full recovery for plaintiffs and disincentivizes wrongs. Defendants must bear liability irrespective of external benefits to the victim. The next term, collusion. Collusion involves secret planning between parties to deceive a court or third parties and manipulate legal outcomes. Such conspiracies may involve a false testimony, hidden agreements, or coordinated litigation strategies. Courts will void contracts or judgments tainted by collusion. It compromises transparency and judicial impartiality. Hence, courts actively guard against collusive conduct to preserve procedural fairness. The next term, common law. Common law is the body of judge-made law derived from judicial decisions and customs rather than legislative enactments. It develops incrementally through case-by-case rulings and serves as binding precedent. Judges interpret and adapt legal principles, enabling the law to evolve over time. While statutes may override common law, judicial interpretation continues to fill gaps. It is a defining feature of legal systems in many English-speaking countries. The next term, compurgation. Compurgation, also known as the wager of law, was a medieval proof method where a defendant saw innocence and brought oath helpers to vouch for the credibility. These compurgators saw beliefs in the defendant's oath rather than testifying to facts. It reflected a character-based system of proof in early legal systems. Over centuries, legal systems replaced it with evidence-based procedures. Today, it exists only in historical legal study. The next term, conquering opinion. A conquering opinion is a separated judicial opinion that agrees with the majority's outcome but offers alternative or supplementary reasoning. While not binding, it may influence future legal interpretation and doctrinal developments. When multiple conquering opinions exist, identifying a controlling rationale may be complex. They offer insight into judicial thinking and may presage shifts in legal approach. Legal scholars often analyze concurrences for emerging trends. The next term, construction, also called interpretation. Construction refers to the judicial process of interpreting ambiguous language in statutes, contracts, or legal documents to ascertain underlying intent. Courts examine context, purpose, legislative history, and interpretive rules to reach meaning. The goal is to give effect to the defendant's intention and ensure equitable outcomes. Rules like a contra proferentum or purposive interpretation are often applied. Accurate construction balances literal meaning with the practical implications. The next term, constructive trust. A constructive trust is an equitable remedy imposed when a person holds title to property unjustly, typically due to wrongdoing, by requiring them to act as trustee for the rightful owner. It operates without a formal trust creation, emerging to prevent the unjust enrichment. Common triggers include fraud, breach of a fiduciary duty, or misappropriation of funds. This remedy restores the benefit to the injured party. It underscores equity's role in correcting legal iniquities. The next term, contempt. Contempt is conduct that disrespects or obstructs a court's authority, including willful disobedience of orders or disruptive behavior during proceedings. Civil contempt aims to enforce compliance, for example, compelling testimony, while criminal contempt punishes obstruction or disrespect. Courts may respond with fines or imprisonment to uphold authority and procedural integrity. Contempt requires intent and impact on the administration of justice. It serves to protect judicial functioning and respect. The next term, continuance. A continuance is the rescheduling of a court's hearing or trial to a later date. Judges grant continuances for reasons such as awaiting documents, securing testimony, or ensuring fairness. Requests may come from either party or the bench and are evaluated on potential prejudice and procedural need. Proper scheduling supports a thorough preparation and a fair adjudication. Denied continuances may lead to appeals if unfair harm results. The next term, contingency fee. A contingency fee agreement binds legal payment to the success of the client's claim, typically as a percentage of recovery obtained. It provides access to legal representation for clients lacking upfront funds. Attorneys share litigation risk and receive a payment only upon success, aligning incentives. Disclosure requirements ensure clients understand the cost structure and obligations. This arrangement is prevalent in personal injury, civil rights, and consumer claims. The next term, causation. Causation links a defendant's action to the claimant's harm, a prerequisite for liability in tort and criminal law. Courts assess factual causation, that is, but for test, and a legal causation, that is, proximate foreseeability. Causation ensures liability is appropriately confined to harms resulting from the defendant's conduct. Weak or indirect connections may defeat legal responsibility. Establishing causation distinguishes direct responsibility from remote or speculative consequences. Next term, calendar or calendar call. A calendar is a docket or schedule listing cases set for trial or hearings by a court. A calendar call is the procedural event where parties confirm readiness, request continuances, or finalize scheduling. It organizes courtroom workload and it notifies all participants of upcoming cases. Attendance is typically mandatory and helps optimize court use. Effective calendaring prevents delays and a systemic backlog. The next term, capital offense. A capital offense is a crime so severe, such as a treason or premeditated murder, that it may carry the death penalty under applicable law. Defendants face heightened procedural protections, including specific jury and sentencing requirements. Jurisdictions vary widely. Many have abolished the capital punishment or severely restricted its application. Capital cases often involve automatic appeals and specialized protocol. The concept remains central to legal discussions on punishment and human rights. The next term, citator. A citator is a research tool that tracks the legal history and a treatment of cases or statutes across subsequent decisions. It indicates whether an authority remains valid, has been affirmed, questioned, or overturned. Legal professionals use citators to ensure the reliability of their sources. Citators also display how a case has been cited in similar matters. It is essential for maintaining currency and accuracy in legal research.